It also seems like we're following this murder mystery that then twists into something that's even more sinister than that. Hey guys, it's Kristen, and today we are talking about season 1 of Netflix's new show, Chambers. After having a heart attack, a teenager named Sasha gets a heart transplant and becomes consumed by the mystery surrounding the death of Becky, the person whose heart saved her life. The creator of the series described it as a psychological horror story that explores the different ways we metabolize trauma. Give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments so we can talk about Chambers together. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. So let's start off with the good. First of all, this is the first Netflix series, and honestly the first series that I've actually seen, led by a Native American woman. Actress Stephen Elira Rose takes on the role of Sasha, who starts having hallucinations and dark feelings after getting this potentially evil heart during her heart transplant. The story also taps into the indigenous culture and traditions and breaks boundaries and stereotypes around them. I think there were also some really strong visuals and metaphors and hints of what's to come in this season, with everything from the mice to all of the babies being born in the hospital at the same time that Sasha's getting her heart transplant, to just the different ways that all of the characters are dealing with trauma in this series. It also seems like we're following this murder mystery that then twists into something that's even more sinister than that. I enjoyed seeing just how deep this story really went, especially as it got into spirituality and fate, and even, in a way, cults. On the other side of things though, I did feel like this show was really slow, and I felt like the character development wasn't quite there. I just had a hard time connecting with these characters. Like, for instance, Becky. You know, we talk about her so much in this season, but we don't really get to see her, so it was hard to understand what her character was all about. We finally start to learn more towards the end, but at that point I feel like it's a little too late. I feel like, you know, we also didn't really get to see that much of Yvonne and TJ, and they're supposed to be really close to Sasha, and for a while there was even a section of this show where I was kind of like, where did they go? They just kind of disappeared, especially TJ. But then at the end of the season, they're the ones that kind of had to do everything to save Sasha, and I was kind of like, where did the motivation for this come from? I just didn't feel like they were as close as they could have been, or that we learned as much about these characters as we should have. I also just didn't feel like Sasha was that interesting of a character, and I also did not believe her as a high school student. I think this show actually could have been more effective if they had aged them up a little bit and maybe had them in college or something. I think that would have been a little bit more believable. And then after Becky dies, you know, Sasha gets not only her heart, but she also gets her spot at her fancy private school. She gets close with her family and friends. She even gets her car. I think in bringing all of that up, there was a way that they could have really tackled the topics of privilege and race and wealth in a way that was really smart, but they just didn't really go there. There were also some things that happened that I was just like, did I miss something, or did they not really explain what's going on here? Like the guy that had the broken nose at the hospital that went missing, or the guy that worked at Frank's fish shop. Like, I just did not get the purpose of their roles or what happened there, and I just felt like it kind of took away from continuing the actual storyline that was going on and maybe expanding upon that in a deeper way. I do want to get into a little bit of spoilers here about the ending, so you have been warned. I think this show tried to fake us out a couple times about what the real plot of this story was. You know, it looks like Sasha's being haunted by Becky so that she can find out how she really died, and then it looks like Becky's trying to take over Sasha's identity, and then when Sasha manages to defeat Becky, it turns out, hold up, this was not the story at all, and Sasha finally kills Becky off inside her. It seems like she's finally won, only for it to turn out that Becky was being possessed by the demon Lilith, based off of the wellness organization, the Annex, that really seems to be a front for a cult. The way it ends here, we're led to believe that Becky was kind of holding back this evil that Lilith brings forth, but when Becky disappears, I feel like nothing really happened. We don't see Sasha acting any differently, or, you know, doing any of the strange things or having hallucinations like she was before. Then we learn about this cult, and it turns out that she has Lilith's powers and she's able to use them very easily. It just felt like this whole season was really just a setup for what they want to do in season 2 with this Lilith cult story. And I gotta say, it seems like Netflix is a fan of Lilith's lore, because this is the second show I've watched already this year that features Lilith as the main storyline. The other one is Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I think it's an interesting idea for sure, but the execution just wasn't really there. When it comes down to it, well, I think Chambers had a really interesting story about this, you know, psychological horror thriller led by an indigenous woman. I do think that they could have gone deeper and smarter with their storyline. It was a bit too slow for me, and I just don't think they hit the nail on the head with this one. If you like this video, make sure to check out my other Netflix reviews over here and drop down in the comments to continue the conversation. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about Chambers. See ya!